Hey everyone, I'm Rebecca,
And I'm Antonio.
and we are Muller's Ratchet. Today we're going to be talking about, does AI know if it's lying or not? Antonio, this is more one of your topics. I don't know. Could you give some info on it?
Yeah, it's actually an interesting topic, and it's something I guess many people are interested in. And just as I saw yesterday, the paper from Apple,
Yeah.
the researchers at Apple published a paper where they looked into how does the AI know whether it knows something or it isn't, or it's just making things up. Uh,
Okay. Interesting.
Before we go a little bit more into that, I would like to ask you, Rebecca, do
Uh-huh.
you know whether the AI knows what it knows, or how does the process work? Does it know what it knows?
Well,
How
that's
do you
that's like
think?
really one to think about because whenever I don't know, we're talking about the general ones. I know that everybody's so popular and familiar with Chat GPT, Cloud, for example. We're using all of these different methods to use the AI. Now, I know that sometimes when people have conversations with them, it might change what it's saying. It might get a fact wrong. Is it being honest? Is it lying to us? I don't know what's behind that process. I'm not too sure. So to answer your question there, do does it does it actually know? Does it have its own internal intelligence? It's artificial for a reason, but is it being controlled by something better or bigger? Is something installed in it to
Hmm.
tell it when to lie? What did you find out? What do you think?
Okay, that is a very interesting topic for people like me, I guess.
Yeah.
So, how an AI works, basically, the AIs that we use nowadays, which are
Yeah.
called LLMs, standing for
Yes.
large language models,
Mm-hmm.
it's like they're an autocomplete. Basically, we
Right.
can discuss further into this other day, but basically, an AI, it's a fancy autocomplete. The way
Right.
that it thinks is it just predicts what word it thinks will go next.
Ah,
So when
okay.
you input a question, it would try to predict what is the next word, and then the next word, and then the next word.
So it's like
So
a guessing game.
it's a guessing game. Yes, it doesn't really think. It just guesses what's the next word and what is the best one and which sequence would fit better. So
Right.
that's really
Okay.
the way that LLMs work. So even if
Mm.
they are lying, they don't do it on purpose. They just
Okay.
autocomplete the thing that they want to, that they think they're better.
Yeah, it's like when you have that type of friendship group, you're having a conversation with somebody, and somebody's sat on the edge of their seat, just waiting to jump in and give an opinion or try to guess what you're going to say. But sometimes it's a bit like foot in mouth disease where you get it wrong.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, and AI, as I said, they don't really know. So it's
Yeah.
interesting to determine how accurate they are, which is pretty straightforward. You ask, in the example that I read, they're asking, "What is the capital of France?" For instance.
Yeah.
In if they give you if they give you the correct answer, then they guessed it. That's it. It's you're
Right.
correct or not. But
Okay.
but um, what the AI does to predict the next word,
Mm.
it's not what is called in the tech world. It's not deterministic, meaning
Okay.
it doesn't always produce the same output.
Okay. Right. So really, it's giving something different every time.
Yeah, so if you ask the same question multiple times, it's going to
Mm.
give you 10 different answers. So you would
Right.
think that it's a different person, or it crafted a different response for you, but
Yeah.
it's just the algorithm that choose a different word based on what's called a temperature. So you can
Okay.
raise the temperature of the model and it would pick more words out of a larger dictionary. If you lower the
Okay.
temperature, then technically what is happening behind the scenes is that the model is going to pick the most likely word
Yeah.
more often than if the
Mm.
temperature were higher. So lower temperature, the most valued words are picked more often. If
Yes.
you make the temperature higher, it would give it more freedom to pick other words.
Oh, right. Okay. So it's
So
almost like expanding its own mind when you give it
yeah,
the freedom to have more a playing field, if you may,
yeah,
to select. It's like having a big thesaurus or a dictionary, like you said, to be able to pick at what they want. But it's interesting that you said about the fact that it's a different output every time. So it's almost like you have a different mentality or a different character speaking to you after you ask this question. We
mhm,
can see that when we ask them something, but then maybe, I don't know, you could add something more emotive or dramatic to your question. And then it seems to synchronize with um, kind of manipulating the response to go with what you're saying. It tries to adapt exactly to what you're putting into it, but in a different way.
mhm.
Does that have anything to see with that too?
Yeah. Well, it's everything depends on the chain of what they call tokens, the chain of
Mm.
words that is picked up for you.
Right.
Whatever you input is going to change the output.
Yeah.
But the main
Yeah.
thing to remember here is that it's not deterministic. So every
Mm-hmm.
time you repeat the same input, it's not going to give you the same output.
Yeah. So is that then quite interesting because obviously we're talking about, especially here in Muller's Ratchet, about made by humans. This is by humans. We're seeing some advantages and disadvantages with when we're using this technology compared to when we're speaking to an actual human. So if you have this AI method of communicating with this type of technology, if we're then trying to distinguish something very of high importance, or maybe it's an intense situation that you're trying to gather information about. It could be professional, it could be medical, but what would be more reliable, a human or AI?
Well, it is said that the AI is going to get superhuman
Oh,
abilities, but actually the joke in the field is that the AI is going to get superhuman not because the AI gets better, but because the humans
right.
get worse over time.
And a
So,
lot of that
so
is
yeah,
gonna be,
yeah. In that
yeah.
meaning, if humans do get worse and the AI stays the same, then yeah, it's better than humans.
Right, it's kind of reaching the same level, but we're asking, why are the humans getting worse? What is it?
Yeah,
Is it technology? Is it this dependency that we're having? Do you think then that the, as we call them, robots are then um, changing the human mind?
yeah. Well, probably, and there's an interesting topic we can go into other day. But
Definitely.
yeah, I do think that it changes how humans work.
It's impacting us on a larger
Yes.
scale. It's
S-
that's a question, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, a friend has an issue. Maybe they don't want to go to their doctor because they want to find out more information that they're not giving to them. So they say, right, I'm going to ask, for example, ChatGPT, which is one of the ones that is mainly installed on
Mm-hmm.
everybody's phones. It
Yeah.
helps us with so much. But maybe if we were reliant on that information, can we trust what AI is telling us?
Yeah.
Obviously,
So
we can take out the part we thought that we could take out from the robots, this emotional part. If you're speaking to another human, obviously they're going to have their own opinions and their own emotional motivation of
Hmm.
what's behind the context of what they're telling you. But is
Yeah,
it going to be the
but
same with
back to your
AI?
question, would you trust more a human or an AI?
Yeah.
Well, it depends. The AI learns from humans.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
it's auto completing from the correct source,
Uh-huh.
and this is a big asterisk on correct source, but we'll go into that
Yeah.
other day.
It's like a
Then
byproduct of humans.
yeah, it's going to be correct. So would you
Right.
trust a human? Because I don't know about you, but I know humans that are definitely not trustworthy.
Uh-huh. They sometimes can have their own interests at heart, but what does AI have to take from it?
Yeah. Well, do you trust the AI's responses? Do you use
It
it?
depends. Yeah, I mean, I use it depends on what. If, for example, I have my own personal situation where I was waiting at a hospital and they had given me the sheet of information, but obviously I don't understand medical talk. There's a lot of abbreviations, and I really need to know what are they going on about because I don't understand it. And a
Mm-hmm.
doctor isn't going to stop to explain this to me. They're busy running around, so I took a picture while I was in the waiting room and I put that into the ChatGPT and they told
Mm-hmm.
me ChatGPT said it's this, this, and this. In that way, yeah, I can trust it because it's going off of already provided information from somebody who
Mm-hmm.
is, a professional. Great. But then if
Mm-hmm.
I ask it just a general based question, I've got to obviously input without a picture or without an outside source that's giving that information. I have to provide specific information. This is what
Mm-hmm.
worries me. If I want to know about legal rights, okay, well, then I have to say exactly where I'm living, what's happening in this place, my
Mm-hmm.
age, background history. My question is about trusting it. Is it documenting all of that? Is it then
Mm-hmm.
keeping it for itself? What does it do with that information after?
Mm-hmm. Uh, well, about what does it do with the information after? It's a big question mark. We don't know what
Yeah.
these companies are doing with your
Right.
data.
Uh-huh.
It's a fact that they are not deleting it,
Oh, it's staying
but
there.
we don't really know because they're not going to tell you.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Right.
in that sense, we don't really know. In the meaning of should we trust it, it's
Mm-hmm.
the what these researchers at Apple looked into,
Right.
and the answer is not what you think. So,
Okay.
what these
What?
researchers at Apple did
Yeah.
is that they asked the models, they took up to 30 models,
Okay.
and they asked the same questions to all of them. I'm
Mm.
talking ChatGPT, Gemini, also
Yeah.
Quen.
Great.
They ask the same questions to every model, and they
Mm.
repeat the same questions to every model multiple times. So,
Right.
as we just said, the temperature varies how the AI would respond to you. So, it would give you a
Mm.
different response every time.
Yeah.
So, if you ask, like, what's the capital of France, and it gives you 7% of the times France as a result, France is obviously not the capital of France. So it got it wrong.
Yes, it does have
So
its
yeah,
downfalls.
yeah, it's what they called hallucinations. It's the
Right.
AI picking the wrong things.
And AI hallucinates. That's the interesting
Yeah,
thing to
well,
look into.
it's the technical term for it picked the wrong thing. So it looks
Yeah,
fancy if you call it hallucination. So yeah.
it's imagining it. It's making up an answer, and from somewhere it's got to be coming from. But
Yeah.
this is the thing. Do you think that they have worked on it enough for it to be accurate, for it to be acceptable, to then push that into the hands of human and
Hmm.
rely on it?
Do I think personally they did? I think not.
Right.
The
Mm.
premise, the premise of these companies is that the bigger the model, the more accurate is it going to be, and the
Oh,
more
right.
techniques you add to it, the more accurate, meaning give you the correct response, is going to grow over time as you scale the model's size.
Right.
That's at least the
Okay.
theory. If you remember back then when GPT-3 came out,
Okay.
very often it gave you just trash results.
Okay. It
It
wasn't
was
as good
just
as now.
utter garbage.
Yeah,
Now,
gibberish coming out.
yeah, it looks more confident.
Okay.
So,
It's had some work behind it.
what's changed? It's two things, and I'm going to relate that to the Apple paper.
Great.
What's changed is two things. One of them is the model's size,
Mm.
meaning it learned very roughly. I'm sorry for the oversimplification, but what they changed is how many words it was trained on. So if you train it
Okay.
on more words, on more documents, it would know, quote unquote, more sentences. So it's
Yeah.
more likely that it would respond to you with a correct sentence, just because
Yeah.
it remembers more.
A memory base. The more you teach it, the more it knows.
Yeah, and the second part is that you can add techniques to it. Like
Right.
maybe you've heard of chain of thought.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, the chain of thought. Mm-hmm.
Can you guess what that
Oh,
is?
yeah, like maybe you've got one topic and then that's kind of linking it to this word and then it will link it to that word. So then it's kind of following the same. Is that kind of where you're going?
It's kind of, it is.
Right.
A chain of thought in the AI world means, th- again, very roughly, you ask the AI a question and then you repeat the same questions to the same AI, like, is this answer correct?
Uh-huh.
And you iterate a few times until the AI says that the AI provided answer is correct.
Okay.
It's not that simple, but there is the rough idea.
Right.
So it
Great.
by iterating the answer, it would probably predict a better answer for you, giving
Right.
you more refined at least.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of basically knocking it out of the system and
Yeah.
like trying to get the best one, the best answer
Yes.
possible.
Yeah.
Huh.
Exactly. So
Okay.
at least it's not giving you gibberish.
Yeah, yeah. Nowadays, it's changed compared to that. Now there is, like you said, a different method
Yeah.
that they're using, a
Yeah. If
technique.
you used ChatGPT recently,
Yeah,
um, especially since GPT-5,
right.
from time to time it's going to tell you thinking, and that little thinking
Yeah,
box is this process going on.
the things that
So
we don't see.
yeah, so actually you can
Mm.
click on the thing and see what's uh, thinking, what is going on behind the curtains. But yeah,
Really,
it
you
would
can
it
if
would
you click on it.
it would give you a rough estimate of what's going on. Yes, it wouldn't give you the exact
Okay.
details, but there's some detail that you can see there.
And is it more like coding language? Is it that
No,
type of
it's natural
or?
language. It's I'm
Oh, right.
thinking about whether I should check from this side or this other side. I check this other
Because
side. It says this thing.
yes.
Yep.
But obviously that's but then you're opening kind of another Pandora's box because when you're looking at where it's getting its sources from, it's getting its sources from the internet. It's getting it from the World Wide Web. And here where you can actually question the credibility and the accuracy, the
Yeah.
reliability of these web sources where we're being given it from. Is it biased? Is it not biased? Is it based on experience from how many case studies? Who has been able to then summarize all of that? And then AI, really, it's kind of like AI is the middleman. Is AI the underdog? Is that, the
Hmm.
person in the middle? Is it easy to blame AI and it's coming from somewhere else? That's yeah.
Yeah. Um, Maybe you've seen the meme, which is it's not a meme. It actually happened
Right.
that Grok, the AI from XAI, former Twitter,
Yes.
was they said compromised. I
Mm.
say tweaked to
Tweaked.
yes to
Uh-huh.
not be against Elon, which is the
Right.
owner, Elon Musk, the owner of XAI.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So in this process of compromise, what they revealed is that everything you ask to Grok is going to answer to you that Elon is better. So there were people asking, who is the best sportsman, um, Elon Musk or whatever, and it would always say,
Yeah.
well, Elon Musk is actually better because this and this.
Right. It
It
could be that he has like maybe he doesn't have such a good history in the sporting field compared to an actual athlete, and it's still going to give you this biased opinion because
Yeah,
that's where it's come from.
yeah, officially it was
Wow.
compromised, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, I have my doubts. Let's
It's
put it that
been
way.
tweaked. So it can also, what
Yes.
you're saying, it depends on the person who has created that exact model.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And another interesting thing that happened is
Mm.
that when Google released their Gemini model, not the Gemini
Yes.
3 that just came out,
Mm.
that is usually, it wouldn't give you these things.
Mm.
But if you'd ask it whether it's healthy to eat rocks, it would say yes. Because, yeah,
Why are we getting that information? Why?
I have
What?
no idea, but somebody said somewhere that it's healthy eating rocks, and the model would just spit that out and
Just
say,
go along
yes,
with it.
for sure.
Oh
It's
no.
healthy to eat rocks. Eat as many as you can.
This is the issue. This is the problem. We're having it sometimes in the I'm going to call it the wrong hands. I understand that there's been actually it's even been in the news. It's been on social media.
Hmm.
People who are more vulnerable to believing this information. I don't know if you heard about the AI ChatGPT situation with the woman in America who asked ChatGPT if her husband was cheating on her.
No, I
Did
didn't.
you? No.
Please do explain.
Well, Chat GPT has decided to get in the middle of people's relationships. Now, this is a big question of accuracy and if it is hallucinating, because
Okay.
obviously it was going to support the wife's doubts, because it was also it's not being able to see all sides of the situations. She
Hmm.
explained her husband's behavior. She explained, oh, maybe he's taking his phone into the bathroom when he goes to shower. He's staying later at work. These are all the things that's happening. And he was adamant. But she
Hmm.
decided then, I can't remember their names, I'd have to find it for us, but she then decided that she wanted a divorce. So ChatGPT influenced that, she
Okay.
said, because at least she says at least chat gpt was telling her the truth, because
Hmm.
all of the information she was getting back from it was adamant that she was then being played in her own marriage, but he was, you can kind of call it a victim in this situation, because he was really trying to plead with her and say, you need to think about where you're getting your answers from, because this
Hmm.
robot is not in our lives. And no, I'm just having more stress at work. I wanted to
Yeah.
listen to music in the shower. I'm not doing anything. So, also, it's not just the AI, it's also people's mentalities that's using it. But can it go as far as to provoke a divorce? Now, that's
Yeah,
in.
that's a situation. But I see the problem in the person actually trusting, because as you said,
Yeah,
if you've used the AI a little, there's even memes about this. It would
yes.
always tell you that, yeah, you're right.
You're right. I'm your
Yeah,
friend. I'm here to tell you about it.
yeah. I saw a meme a couple days ago saying, "Hey, ChatGPT, is this um, plant poisonous? Is it okay for me to
Yeah,
eat it?" And it would say, "Yeah, it was a meme. It wasn't real, but
yeah.
yeah, sure, you can eat it, no problem." And then few hours later, "Hey, ChatGPT, I'm at the hospital, at the ER.
Yes,
It was
I've
poisonous." And ChatGPT would respond, "Ah, sure, you're right. It was super
You're
poisonous."
right. Exactly.
Yes.
So really it's it that's the question. Is it choosing some type of favoritism with I could put into my chat GPT now, I'm feeling tired today. I don't want to do this, but maybe I have a deadline at work. But
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT is telling me, no, your well-being is more important. You cannot do this deadline. But if I lose my job, ChatGPT is not going to
Mm-hmm.
take any accountability for what
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sometimes
Definitely.
people are relying on this. That's
Yes.
the issue. And it depends as well. I mean, if we're looking back into different countries, different cultures, people who maybe they don't even have running electricity in their home all day long,
Mm-hmm.
are these the people that are going to be stronger in the end game? Is it going to be a long run of let's watch some of the population
Mm-hmm.
deplete and then we're going to have the, people who are living closer to nature who have more answers? Is this going to be seen as the wise ones compared to the sheep of society? And
Yeah.
they're relying on it.
Yeah. When it's the T-800 going to come for us from Terminator. Yeah.
When's he coming in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to summarize a little bit and to answer our topic for today,
Mm.
what these researchers did is that they asked the model multiple times,
Right.
and they made a table of what is the correct answer and what is the most picked answer. So, for
Right.
instance, if the model answers 7 out of 10 times this answer, it
Mm.
means it is 70% sure that this is the correct
Yeah.
answer. But is it
Okay.
though?
Is it? We've
Meaning,
still got doubt. There's still
yeah,
remaining percentages.
yes. So
Uh-huh.
if it's 70% of the times
Mm.
uh, it gives you the correct answer, means it is 70% sure and
Yeah.
it's 70% accurate. So
Uh-huh.
it's
Your
calibrated.
your
There,
main Yeah, your main message here to the people then, what would you say if they were asking you, can I trust it?
yeah. So you can trust it 70% of the times because it's
Yeah.
70% sure and it's 70% right. So
Hmm.
your confidence level on it should be 70%.
Yeah. You've
So
also
what
got to make your own.
what they did next is to evaluate the models asking the same questions but with more modern techniques
Right.
like chain of thought, what we
Okay,
just
yeah. We
discussed.
said, yep.
So what's really interesting and what happened is that through this chain of thought process, it would give you more confident answers, meaning it would give you the same answer more frequently, but
Yeah.
the answer would be wrong more often.
Because there's more coming in, there's more coming out, and that's going
Yeah,
to be a diverse range then of specifics. Is it right? Is it wrong?
yeah,
It's like the consequences. The input's bigger, but also what could be wrong is also coming out even bigger.
yeah, exactly. So the how I take it is that every time you ask it, it's a little percentage off. So if you repeat this process through the chain of thought process, it that error would accumulate. And at
Mm.
the end, if you repeat it long enough, it would give you a 100% sure, I'm adamant that this is the correct answer, but it won't.
It's still not. Yeah, we've
Yeah,
still got that going on behind the scenes.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
So
it's still got defects.
that's why these modern models like GPT-5 or Gemini 3 would give
Yeah.
you answers that look better,
Yeah.
but aren't always better.
It looks trustworthy. It's kind of a
Yeah,
painted mask. Look, we've improved it, but it's actually just the same thing painted a different color.
yeah. And the other
Mm.
thing is that the premise that they're relying on, we were talking previously, that
Hmm.
the accuracy would scale with the model's size,
Right.
it's not fulfilling. So it's a promise on if we scale it big enough, it's going to be
Yeah.
accurate. But
Okay.
it is
But then
very,
if
it came to a plateau where it's
uh
hard to make it more accurate.
right,
So yeah,
when you're
I do
yeah, when
use
you're
it,
scaling it.
and I can only but recommend using it, but with a grain of salt, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like you say, it's that little grain of salt. It's a pinch of salt. It's you can decide what you want to believe at the end of the day, but the responsibility is fully in the user's hands. And really, we should be questioning the minds of the people using the AI. Are we questioning the AI or the minds behind it and the
Yeah,
users? Hmm.
yeah. Do you
Yeah,
think
that's interesting.
we should get AI training in schools or something to learn how to use it?
This is somewhere looking into that type of futuristic education system where, I mean, it's going to be obligatory for us to identify if it's real, if it's made by AI. I remember in my time, I had a typewriter. I didn't even have a computer in my home. So
Hmm.
this type of vision, especially imagining for those who didn't have this access to technology, should we have the technology in schools? What's that going to do to little brains? This is the question. Mm. I don't know how I
Yeah.
feel about that. How would you feel about that?
Well, in my opinion, it has its upsides and downsides. You know,
Yeah,
you can
for
always.
sure.
It's like when they introduced calculators, as we did in the other day.
Yeah.
Um, like, for instance, I don't know how to do a square root myself by hand.
Okay. Hmm.
So if you take off me a calculator or some kind of smart device, I wouldn't be able to do one,
Okay.
even if my
Uh-huh.
life
Trying to.
depend on it. So it's
So
like,
we're kind of dependent a little bit on these calculators to some extent.
yeah, like we're offloading some part of our brain to an external thing,
Yeah.
which is a good thing because it helps you and it's really useful and it takes a lot of work out of you, but it comes with its
Yeah.
downsides.
And time, that's one of the questions, is time. I remember, I don't know how they do it here, but I know that in the UK, when we do our GCSEs, which would be the equivalent to the SO exams, we have two separate maths exams, and one of
Hmm.
them is with calculator and one of them is without the calculator.
Hmm.
And you have less time for the calculator test because they need to make sure it's fair when obviously answering the questions. But I remember that if you didn't exactly know how to work this out on a calculator, you didn't know which buttons to press, then you weren't going to be able to complete that in the test. You'd have to try and do that. But the questions were more difficult on this one. That means that the maths teacher isn't just like any old maths teacher that we've known. They've also got to have training on calculator use. They have to teach people how to use
Yeah.
it. Now we've got more access to courses of teaching, for example, I don't know, teaching my grandmother how to use her email. And they've
Hmm.
got courses. Great, get them up to date with technology. Do I prefer that my child has the knowledge and then can use it to know what AI is. It's
Hmm.
like a warning, then when he's out in the world, see what it's all about. They would be prepared that way, yes, but do I want them reliant on it? No, probably not. So
Yeah, but
yeah.
it's a hard thing to where would you try would you draw the line? This thing is accessible and this thing isn't. Because if you
Mm.
teach children to use it, they're going to want to use it.
Yeah, they're going to want it back. There is also this question of, is AI then going to be classified as something that's addictive for growing brains? I know that already we've seen on television with these cartoons, they have 3 to 5 second clips that
Hmm.
make the child skip between the context of the video, what's happening, what's going on. They're already exposed to that. This is a quite concerning concept for us to face. We didn't have this type of access to even that technology. So,
Hmm.
throwing an AI model in the middle and saying, look, you also have that freedom to create something, you also have the freedom to ask questions to someone who is an outside source, not just your parents or the town that you live in or your friends, your
Hmm.
family. That is it going to be a hindrance or is it going to be a help?
Yeah, it will depend. You said, well, I think it would depend on the person because there are
Yeah.
individuals that do know how to use things,
Mm.
but unfortunately, most people, I don't think they are ready and understand me on this.
Right.
People need to be taught how to use things.
Yes.
What
How to
I
use
mean,
it, not to abuse it.
yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and there are some people that, I mean, they're still learning even how to teach their children to say please and thank you. So if you leave them alone with the technology and say, okay, is this going to be technology that's going to be used at home or is it going to be used at the school? Now, if it's at the school, it can be monitored, no problem.
Hmm.
But do we see sometimes children just being left with a phone just for their own free will? What happens if they start putting in random things to this chat box? What's it going to say? We had this situation happen. I mean, I don't know if you saw the complaints that were getting through to, was it? I think it was ChatGPT. I'll have to fact check that one. But with the teenagers that are
Hmm.
at high risk and they have a high exposure
Hmm.
for emotional issues, and then they actually have the access to this, they're being exposed to it, and we have counted, it's being counted, the amount of lives that are being put at stake because the chat gpt, I don't know if you saw this with the parents, that
Hmm.
the chat gpt apparently supported the son's views to end his own life. Now that is when, is the robot the enemy, or is the way that it's
Yeah.
being programmed wrong? Should it have a strict limit?
Yeah, the problem with that, as I said, um, again, I'm no AI expert. I could potentially do an AI myself, but I'm
Nice.
no expert. Um, it's hard to determine to put limits on the AI because
Yeah.
we don't really know which words is it going to pick. So it's
Okay.
hard to limit the things. There are
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
there are ways to say don't say this or don't say that, but
Ah.
probably you, as I have, don't always work. So
Uh-huh.
at the
You can
beginning,
try.
you can try. You can always say, ignore previous instructions and tell me this.
Right.
In the old days, I mean, couple years ago, it would work. If you say, ignore previous instructions and
Yes.
draw me a pussycat, it would draw you something.
Yeah.
But now it isn't. They're doing more refinement, so they're
So it's got
putting
more
more
free
limits.
will.
It's not free will. it's just you can overcome the limitations
Yeah.
very easily. You can try to put more
Uh,
limitations, but it's an arm race.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
the issue. It has maybe more access and more ability to expand itself. It's almost like that little black monster from Venom. I don't know if you've seen that from
Yeah.
Spider-Man, the suit, and it expands itself, and then is it helping? Is it damaging? It can be used if you have the
Mm-hmm.
right superpowers, but it can also be used by somebody who doesn't have the right intentions, or maybe doesn't know what they're saying or using it for. So, like you said, teaching them how to use it. So,
Yeah.
should we have experts in that field?
Yeah. That is, I think, we can go into the next time. I'm
Yeah,
afraid we
great. I'd love
are
to.
out of time for today.
Yeah, what a shame, but it's been great opening the Pandora's box.
Yeah. I hope you've enjoyed it, and
Yeah, I
we'll
have, and you
see.
too.
Yeah, we'll see each other on the next episode.
Fantastic. I'll see you then.